Hi guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing yet another recent reads, but today I have a lot of different genres to talk about. My ratings have been all over the place, so I won't drag this out any further. We will go ahead and get started. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is The Deep Sky by Yumi Katase. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this was on my list of most anticipated reads for this year. I actually won this ARC copy from a Goodreads giveaway, which is the first time that I've ever won anything from a Goodreads giveaway, and honestly will probably be the last time I do. But I was really excited to get my hands on this. This is a adult sci-fi thriller, which I don't read too many sci-fi thrillers, so I was really excited to jump into this one. But we follow our main character by the name of Asuka, and she is among, I think, 80 other women that have been chosen to go to this mission in space. And one day while she was doing like a moonwalk outside of the spaceship, her and another girl, a bomb exploded, killed that girl, killed a couple of other people, and Asuka is tasked with trying to figure out why they had a bomb attached to their ship and who was responsible. So I DNF'd this one. I DNF'd it, I think I said I'm bookmarking it, on page 138. And it really saddens me to do that because, like I said, I was really excited about this one, but I just thought the story was really slow moving after we got like the explosion and it was time for Asuka to figure out what was happening. Not much was happening and I was just honestly bored out of my mind. There were some sections that I did like in this book because it split between timelines. So we're in the current timeline with Asuka trying to figure out what's going on, and then we flash back to the past of her life and how she got chosen for this mission, the things that she was doing to prepare for the mission, and we learned a lot about why this mission was even taking place, which was very interesting. But as far as our main character, Asuka, I just was not connected to her. We know that something had happened between her and her mother. There's like some tension with that, but everything was just going so slowly. And then we had these chapters where we got like some sections about some birds, and we know that Asuka is really interested in birds, but I have no idea why we got those like small snippets of that in here. And every time we got them, it just took me out of the story. Could I have probably skipped them? Yes, but I felt like maybe there was a purpose for them that I never figured out up until when I DNF'd this one. I feel like I gave this one a really good try, but it just did not work for me. So then the next book that I have here is Ruth Ware's 0 Days, which is a adult thriller. And this was also a book that was on my most anticipated reads for this year, and it did not go well for me. So in this one, we follow our main character by the name of Jack. Her real name is Jacinta, but she goes by Jack, and she is a penetration tester, aka her and her husband go around testing companies security systems. They try to go in and see if they are able to break into them, and if they are, they go back to the company and give them notes on how they can improve their security system. I thought that was very interesting. But anyways, so at the very beginning of the story, Jack and her husband are doing one of their security system tests. And when Jack returns home, she finds out that her husband has been killed, because she is usually the one that will be at the place trying to break in. And then her husband is like on the walkie talkie trying to walk her through it. So yeah, she goes home, she finds that he has been murdered. And then of course she is suspected for his murder. And throughout this story, we are following her as she is trying to figure out who put this hit out on her husband. So me telling you that he was murdered is not a spoiler. It happens very early on in the story. It's even on the dust jacket. And I mean, that's the whole mystery, thrilling aspect of this book. So I gave this a 2 stars. I can really appreciate Ruth Ware going out on a limb and trying something new. I think that she put a lot of research into this. It all seemed very real, realistic. She even put that in her author's note about how much research she had put into this book. Again, like I said, I can appreciate that. And I was intrigued on the why all of this was happening in the story. But what I did not like is for this to be considered a thriller, It is not very thrilling. It is slow paced. It just felt like a slog to get through. And I even listened to this on audiobook, which will help me with those like slower paced stories. But it just frustrated me because this was supposed to be a thriller and nothing like really exciting was happening. The whole twist with trying to figure out who, killed Jack's husband, it really wasn't that hard to figure out because there aren't a lot of characters in this book. I think it was like 4 people total. I mean, it's not really hard to narrow down who did it, but the reason why I went ahead and stuck with it to the end is because I just wanted to know the why behind it happened. And to be honest, I was a little confused. When it got kind of like technical and they tried to like start explaining all the tech stuff, I was like, okay, this person did it and that was why. Okay. And then I just was not a fan of Jack. She is somebody that is supposed to be able to break into these security systems and break into these buildings and let people know how to improve them. Yet while she was trying to break into other places so she can figure out who killed her husband, it was like all of her knowledge just went out the window. And there were several times in here where she had to remind herself, like, I should be able to know how to do this. And it's like, yes, you should. You've been doing this for a living. So what are we struggling here with? It was really it was really frustrating. And then the fact that we only followed Jack throughout this whole story and how much we were inside of her head, that was a slog. It just didn't give me what I thought it was supposed to give, but I do give Ruth Ware some points for trying something different. So then the next one that I want to talk about is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. This is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. This is a young adult fantasy book, so I can't really go into the plot of this one, but by God, I did not think that I was ever going to get done with this. I have been reading this for months. And when I went back to my Goodreads, when I finished it up to put in my rating and it tells you like when you actually started it, I started this in April and I just now got done with it. That is depressing. And I even wanted to DNF this book. I wanted to DNF this book with like 200 pages to go, but people on Instagram convinced me to go ahead and keep reading it. So I did. Overall, I gave this a 3 stars. I thought parts of it were fine. I, have been following these characters for 7, 8 books, including like the short stories. And some of them I care about, some of them I don't care about. It just felt like this book could have been cut down about 400 pages. It did not need to be this long. There were scenes that were carried out for way longer than they should have been, but I am happy that I finished it. We got a resolution and I'm done with this series. My biggest complaint with this series though, at least with the end of the book, and I found this to be the truth in the other series that I read by Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Like the stakes seem high in these books, but they're really not. You know that nothing bad really is going to happen. You know that everybody's going to be okay. Everybody's going to get paired off in like these relationships. And yeah, that's fine, but I just wish like the stakes really felt higher in these books. But that's neither here nor there. I still plan to read her other series, Crescent City. Yeah, it won't be this year, but I do plan to start that at some point. But yeah, I'm just so happy and relieved that I finally got through this and can say that I have read the Throne of Glass series. I understand why people really like it, but this last book stressed me out and not in a good way. So yes, 3 stars. So the next book that I want to talk about is You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Caitlin Barron. It is a young adult horror novel. I listened to this on audio. I don't have a physical copy of it, but I only decided to listen to this because somebody from Instagram recommended that I check it out. So I did, and I did enjoy this one. So we follow this girl by the name of Charity, and she works at this camp. It's like a camp, but not really, over the summer. And her and some of the people that work there, what they do is they like recreate scenes, the horror scenes from this really cult classic movie. I think the movie was called Camp Mirror Lake, but the camp is called Camp Mirror Lake. But anyway, so people come to this camp to basically be scared. So you pay your money, Charity and her friends set everything up, and basically you get the fright of your life. So in this story, we're following Charity and these people at this camp, and they realize that they're actually being hunted down by an actual serial killer. And we start to learn some things about the camp. We start to learn like why Charity decided to come here every summer, and we're just watching these kids as they are basically trying to survive the night. Like I said, I enjoyed this one. I gave it a 3 stars. I really enjoyed the character of Charity. She was like a strong leader. She made smart decisions throughout this book. Everything she did just made sense. I really liked the horror aspect of this book as well. Everything just felt real. It felt scary enough, but not necessarily cheesy. And I really liked the twist in this book because it went in a direction that I was not expecting. But I will say the reason why I'm rating this like just 3 stars and not something higher is because it did take me a little while to get into it. It wasn't something that grabbed me right away, but once I was grabbed, I thoroughly enjoyed this. So the next book, it's actually 2 and 3 in a series, and I'm just going to talk about them together, is the Heartstopper Vol.2 and 3. I have mentioned this before when I read the first volume, and that is I am trying to go ahead and read these next 2 volumes before the show is released on August 3rd, because I absolutely love the show, but I want to be caught up on what I can expect from the show. But I don't want to give too much away because this is volumes 2 and 3, and if you haven't read it, you might be interested in reading it. But I gave both of these a 3 stars. It's still not necessarily something that is like blowing me away, but I really enjoyed them. I actually enjoyed both of these more so than the first one, just because we are just seeing Nick and Charlie's relationship flourish. If I didn't say it before, this is a young adult romance, but we are seeing Nick and Charlie's relationship flourish, and we are seeing how they are trying to deal with Nick potentially coming out to everybody. And there are also some really serious topics in here, like self-harm and eating disorders, and so we're just following these characters as they are trying to deal with all of that. I really did enjoy these. I can't wait to get to that 4th one, which I should be able to get to pretty soon. But yeah, I'm enjoying this graphic novel series. So then the next one that I read is Happy Place by Emily Henry, another book that was on my most anticipated reads for this year. This is a adult romance, and in this one we are following our 2 main characters. So we have Harriet and Wynn, and they have been invited to go back to their friends like summer house. And so the problem with that is Harriet and Wynn are no longer together, but their friends don't know it. So they enter into like this fake dating, fake relationship sort of trope where they pretend that they're still together while they're at this summer house for the week. So I gave this one a 3 stars. The only book that I have really enjoyed by Emily Henry is People We Met on Vacation. And I thought that I was going to really enjoy this one because I just, again, have seen so many good reviews for it, but there are definitely things that I liked and things that I did not like. But I did like the tropes of like the fake dating, the second chance romance. I love the idea of like all of these friends getting back together for a week to basically celebrate together, because there is a reason why they're coming together for like this one last time. And I liked Harriet and Wynn for the most part as characters, because we learn about their relationship through like these flashback chapters, and we kind of see eventually what led them together and what led to their breakup. I think I enjoyed the flashback scenes more than I enjoyed the present scenes. But the thing that I really disliked about this book, and I know that I'm going to contradict myself later with the last book that I'm going to talk about, but I really did not like the miscommunication trope in this book. And when I was getting through this book, it was kind of annoying because we didn't only have miscommunication between Harriet and Wynn, but we had miscommunication with the entire friend group. And when we learn the reason why Harriet and Wynn are no longer together, I literally said out loud, they could have just talked about that. To me, the reason for them breaking up, they were dealing with serious issues, yes, but the reason why they broke up just made no sense to me. And it really honestly could have been a conversation. There's also some things that happened within this friend group during this week that I also just felt like could have been a conversation. It's like these people don't talk to each other. I did like the idea of all of these friends getting together, but I really wish that we could have seen more of them together, or in the flashback scenes, if we could have got more time with them. Yes, this is focused on Harriet and Wynn, but because they're with all of their friends, I wish I just could have seen more of why these people were such close friends. Because for them to be such close friends, the thing that they dealt with in this book and what some things that happened between them, it just didn't make sense. The whole communication thing just threw me for a loop. And the one thing that I really wish that we could have gotten here was Wynn's perspective. I just wanted to know how he thought about some of the things that were going on. We were stuck in Harriet's perspective, and I'm pretty sure in all of Emily Henry's books, at least the ones that I've read. So this one, People We Meet on Vacation and Book Lovers, we're only following the woman. I really wish that I could see the perspective of the man and see what he thinks about everything that is going on. But overall, I gave this to 3 stars. I thought it was fine. I haven't completely written off Emily Henry yet, but these books so far have just not been as great as I have wanted them to be. So then the last book that I had to talk about is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is another adult romance. And so in this one, we are following our 2 main characters. So we have Brianna and Jacob. And at the beginning of the story, we find out that Brianna, they're both doctors. And so we find out that Brianna is trying to get, I think, this like chief position in the hospital. But Jacob, who is the new guy at the hospital, she hears that he is up for the same position that she really wants and feels like she deserves. And so there's already some tension between them there. And then what I thought was really funny was people called him Dr. Death because on his first day at the hospital, every patient that he encountered had died. So he got that reputation amongst like the doctors and nurses. So Jacob is just not having a good time at the beginning of the story. And so there's some tension between Brianna and Jacob. We also know that Brianna has a younger brother who is on dialysis due to, I think, like some sort of autoimmune disease that he has. And so he has been looking for a donor, a kidney donor. And Brianna finds out that Jacob is the one that has volunteered to provide his kidney because obviously in order to do that you have to be a match first, but he is a match and he decides that that is what he wants to do. And so she is really grateful and happy for that. And then Jacob actually has some issues with his previous relationship and asked Brianna to do him a favor. And so because she is so happy about him being the kidney donor for her brother, she decides to go ahead and help Jacob out. I loved the story. I ate this story up. I loved both Brianna and Jacob. So right off the bat, I gave this a 5 stars. I just loved everything about this. And this story actually felt kind of personal to me because I have a family member that is currently on dialysis and will eventually need a new kidney. So the fact that this was mentioned and talked about in this book, I really appreciated that. And a thing that was also mentioned in this book is how people struggle with needing like organ donations and how the person that is needing the organ donation, how they are mentally trying to cope with it, and then the people that are like helping them or taking care of them. I don't want to say that the person feels sorry for them, but it's hard to watch a loved one struggle with something like that, and you kind of feel helpless because there's not really much you can do. And seeing how they are affected by it, it really hurts you. So that was something that I appreciated, but at times it was something that was hard for me to read. I also really liked Brianna and Jacob as characters, and I felt really bad for them because they both got out of like really bad relationships. Their partners did them so dirty, so dirty, and you eventually learn what happened in those relationships. I also love how Brianna was the one to like really step up and try to help take care of her younger brother and be there for him. And then we have Jacob on the other hand here, who is dealing with anxiety. He has really horrible anxiety. And the author depicted that so well in this story because there was at points when we were reading from his perspective, because it's told from Brianna and his perspective, I really felt like I was getting anxiety just from listening to how he was dealing with his anxiety. And I mentioned this when I was talking about Happy Place, how I'm about to sound so contradictory, but I did not like the miscommunication trope in Happy Place, but I loved the miscommunication trope in this book because it just made sense. It made sense on why Brianna and Jacob weren't talking about their feelings and why they were keeping their feelings to themselves. There's a bit of fake dating in here, and they both had different reasons for why they were kind of doing it, and then they also were thinking different things of why the other person was doing it. So again, yeah, they probably could have had a conversation, but because I loved both of these characters and a miscommunication really made sense in this book, I was all for it. Like I said, there's also fake dating that I was enjoying. And overall, I just really love the characters. And out of Brianna and Jacob, I would have to say that Jacob was my favorite character in this book. I just loved him. He is just somebody that you just want to go up to and give them a hug. I just really love this story. I already plan to read technically like the first book in this like series, because I think the first book deals with like different characters, but I definitely want to read more from this author. And I also really liked that at the end she wrote about in her author's note how personal this story was to her, because she is someone that had to receive an organ donation. I think she had some sort of autoimmune disease as well, and so her writing about it felt real. So I just listen, I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the romance, I enjoyed everything that it talked about in here, and I would highly recommend this book. So that is actually all that I have for you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.